it is also true that if you're 50% of what that person is and you harmonize in coherency with 50%, you may find yourself in a relationship with someone you're 50% coherent with and 50% not coherent
That's
with.
failing. That's failing numbers.
It's not like that. It's a matter of...
Please elaborate.
It's not like failing. It's a matter of matching. Because even two people doing wrong together match each other, and they don't fail.
Because it's your consciousness.
Because the
looking back at you.
consciousness matches. So you're two criminals together being criminal, and you're
Right.
happy.
That's right. Bonnie and Clyde out there.
And that was a coherency match.
Yeah.
That was a coherency match. So it's less about what we think of as good and bad and failure and success, and more about what you are, like why you are, what you are. So what you are has a mathematical equivalent, and who you match up with has also a mathematical equivalent. Welcome to Call for the Truth. I am LaOta of the Sun, and this is Tavaris of the Sun, and we welcome you here today to talk with us. We are discussing consciousness today. But before we begin, Tavaris, will you bring us into the Call for Truth?
Well, certainly, and we encourage you all to join us in the Call for the Truth. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Shall we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? And we are here in the frequency of truth.
Yay!
And we're encouraging, if you want to continue the pursuit of truth with us, hit that like, subscribe, that bell notification to stay in the rhythm of these thought-stimulating conversations. So again, we're talking about consciousness and the idea of how we can experience varying levels of consciousness. There's like a scale, apparently, and there's low levels of consciousness. There's high level of consciousness, enlightenment, and all those other concepts. So I want to take this in a different direction, but we do require a foundation on what is consciousness, because it feels like such a nebulous idea. It's almost like air, like we know it's there, but we can't quite grasp it. So would you lay us some foundation here?
2 decades ago, Dr. David Hawkins wrote a book called The Map of Consciousness, where he mathematically gave us an outline to go through where we can calibrate consciousness. It's not a completely new idea, because we know that, most people know that the frequency of love is at 525. We know that music has certain frequencies. We understand that light comes in at certain frequencies. What he did was he applied it to human thought and the disposition of humanity. So what consciousness is in fact the light or life that comes into us, that gives us the why of a thing. And so in the map of consciousness, it starts at about from 0 to 20, which is shame, and it goes from 700 to 1,000, which is enlightenment. And so there are many other layers in between that can identify the frequency pattern that a human is operating in, or the frequency pattern that the scent of a rose operates in, or the Bible, or the Quran. We can see, and all of these things are, if you were to go on the internet and type in map of consciousness, you could see the map that alludes to all of these things. And most people do not move outside of their stationary consciousness at which they were born and mature into. So is that a good basis for us to begin?
It's a great base. So again, we have someone who has taken what has already existed, but
Yes.
applied those principles onto consciousness, giving it a little more tangibility.
Yes.
And so from there, one of the understandings I've came across with the map of consciousness is that there is a threshold with where the consciousness of the individual is operating from a disempowered state and an empowered state. Would you speak a little bit about that?
Yes, and all of this coordinates with our chakra systems as well. So when we are in the lower levels of consciousness that I started talking about, like from 0 to 20, which is shame, we're as close to death as we can possibly be. And as we go up the map of consciousness and move into other areas, we gain more life or light. And that is one way to perceive it, that you're carrying light or life through you, and that these understandings relate to the chakras. So if you're in shame and you're near death, you're in the base chakra. As you move up and you move into the solar plexus, you may be at 200 in pride. And then as you move up higher and higher and you move to love, you're in the heart. So all of this relates to all of our body systems and to colors in the color realm and to frequencies of sound. So it's a very interesting, everything verifies everything else. So this can be proven in no matter how you look at the prism.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Many facets,
Yes.
same correspondence across each
Yes.
dimension, every aspect of our being is great. What I love about what you were saying, this idea of looking at it like the amount of light that you have. And when you were using the example of shame being close to death, and it's like your light's almost out.
Yes.
You know, you're almost out of this realm.
Well, you're hating yourself.
Yeah.
You're popping yourself out of creation.
Yeah.
You're hating yourself off the plane of existence that you live on. You are in disappointment, in rejection of self, in shame. And so of course you can move up from that. And it may be temporary, it may be momentary, but in depression is a similar idea where you're unhappy, the glass is always half full, there's not enough light coming in for you to see the glory of the day.
Yeah. Would you speak a little bit about how these different levels of consciousness are responsible for the pulling in or attracting levels of reality? Again, the why behind what we're experiencing.
So it's very interesting. There's a lot of different ways to approach this, but when you think about why did you choose a lover? Why did you choose to eat what you ate? Why did you choose to speak the way you spoke to someone? That is all the map of consciousness. It's all your consciousness. It is the degree to which light can be thrown onto from you whatever is standing in front of you. It reflects back to you where you are. So if you find yourself in a wonderful romantic situation where you feel you are being received and exalted and adored, that is your light reflecting out to someone, coming back to you. In the same way, if it were something less than attractive.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
It's very, so it is the why of you.
I think
like,
that,
why are you having this experience? Because of the light of you, because of the life within you, which is the light of you.
yeah, this feels very practical, intangible, grounded, dare I say.
Yes.
Even though I want to fly off into the cosmos, but I'm content. I'm content. So this takes us into where the conversation I'd like us to have, because I feel like we've established a very strong foundation to
Okay.
at least jump a bit. I'm not trying to go into space, but we can jump. So something that I have came across in my own experience is recognizing that depending on the level of consciousness that you're at, again, this language that you use, the why, is really anchoring in this understanding I came across. So depending on the level of consciousness that I'm at, and the level of consciousness of the person I'm interfacing with, that could it could determine whether or not there is coherence or lack thereof.
Absolutely.
And so especially those who are operating in two different thresholds, those who are below 200 in terms of shame, they have a consciousness that's filtered through the lens of shame, guilt, hate, anger, etc., or someone who's operating in courage, neutrality, acceptance, love, and reaching higher, there is almost no room for, actually there is so much room for misunderstanding. It's almost as though that's all that can happen. And I know that there are varying levels and degrees for people who are above the 200, right? But there's still a greater capacity for harmonization or coherency to take place. So I say all that to say, would you speak on like what that looks like within our relationships, like the why behind consciousness, and how being in different levels of consciousness can determine whether or not a relationship works, whether, you met somebody at this level, you kept growing, and then, you drifted away because your consciousness shifted.
This is really wonderful, and it reminds me of something a client recently asked me about about people's ability to move from one space to another. So I hope you'll bring me back to that. But to answer the question, it is correct that you will meet a frequency match. It is also correct that everything has layers. Everything has levels. So if you are at a certain level that attracts a person at a certain level and you harmonize, that's a wonderful thing. It is also true that if you're 50% of what that person is and you harmonize in coherency with 50%, you may find yourself in a relationship with someone you're 50% coherent with and 50% not coherent
That's
with.
failing. That's failing numbers.
It's not like that. It's a matter of...
Please elaborate.
It's not like failing. It's a matter of matching. Because even two people doing wrong together match each other, and they don't fail.
Because it's your consciousness.
Because the consciousness matches. So you're two criminals together being criminal, and you're happy.
That's right. Bonnie and Clyde out there.
And that was a coherency match.
Yeah.
That was a coherency match. So it's less about what we think of as good and bad and failure and success, and more about what you are, like why you are, what you are. So what you are has a mathematical equivalent, and who you match up with has also a mathematical equivalent. Now, only certain combinations will even come together. However, it doesn't mean that because you're at 115% and they're at 20% that that's a match. It could be that you're at 50% in one direction and they share that 50%, but they're also something else. And so you may find yourself in a relationship like that, which is what happens mostly. Mostly, we meet somebody who is sharing consciousness that we share, but not necessarily matching us in the equation of it. So then what has to happen is the person, if you want, so you come to this conclusion like, I like this person, but they're really not a perfect match for me. So then you have to stand in the clarity of who you are and grow into yourself more. So if your determination to be who you are is strong enough, it will either pop them out or pop them in.
I feel like this is so golden because this takes the blame from the other person.
Yeah.
If they need to do something, no, I recognize I am not coherent or congruent enough to pull in that which is a perfect match. Because I was going to ask you, what's a perfect match? But the perfect match is the coherent image that's being broadcasted, or the frequency and brought back to you.
That's exactly it, because everybody is a mirror. So when you see the person who you're attracted to, but you know they're not a coherent mirror, then it's incumbent upon you to then tighten up your coherency.
That's right, tighten up.
You tighten up if you are a person who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and doesn't want to do that kind of behavior, and you're with someone who does, then you become more of what you are, and they will either shift or go. Those are the only options.
Yeah.
You know, and if you've already recognized that, the thing is not to be afraid to tighten up who you are, thinking they're going to leave, because it's either the pain and suffering, depending on the degrees of pain and suffering you are willing to experience. Like, how much of that are you willing to experience? Are you willing to experience 5 years, 10 years, 15 minutes? How much are you willing to, how much of the pain and suffering that your understanding has already brought you to? You already know, oh, this doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
That's varying levels of pain and suffering. So the solution is you become more of what you want to be and see yourself as, and the match will find you.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it might find you in the body of the person you're already with.
Yeah, I like that truth, because it's not all a wash, so to say, but it does create potentiality. It shows the possibility for influence,
Yes.
and how someone can catch that wave or ride the elevator up, so to say, with you.
Absolutely. Your coherency pulls all the things within your field into a magnetic coherence.
Yeah. And I can also...
And if you're limp, then your coherency doesn't.
Yeah. A wet noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can also see how it's the perspective and the understanding, how it frees us of judgment and condemnation of the other in the relationship, that could present the opportunity for the potential change. But like you said, sometimes they're like, no, I'm good with me.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And so I see that I think that with most of humanity, there lies the issue, even with some people who kind of have this understanding, like in proximity. It's like, no, but I wanted them to be what I want them to be.
And that actually is possible by you being what you are to be, what your why is. You know, it is your why that draws people, like, why is she so beautiful? Why is he so smart? Why is he so spiritual?
It's consciousness.
Yes.
Consciousness. I was thinking this earlier. I said part of this to you, but now I'm having so much fun with it. I'm like, consciousness is the who, the what, the why, the where, and the how.
It actually is, because it's the way in which we uptake light into our energy vortexes that we think of as chakras. It is how it is that is disseminated through the entirety of our past lives, our ancestry, and our current experience. It is why we exist as we exist in any moment. But it is not the end of who we are. And it is our will to grow beyond wherever we are that weaponizes us to do so. It is our will to be with a companion that is compatible with us, that allows us to stand in what we understand our truth to be. And that clarity informs the field, which either brings them in or pops them out. We don't have to fire anyone. They fire themselves. We don't have to hire anyone. It's an open door. Come on in if you the frequency match.
Yeah, invitation.
Yes.
The invitation is the frequency broadcast.
Yes. If your consciousness is, I am completely devoted to this person for the rest of my life, nobody's knocking on the door. Because you're not in your consciousness, your why does not invite them.
You're coherent, but if you're not, if you're a little wet noodle, a little slacking, people start coming up, so what you doing this weekend? Huh? Is so-and-so out of town? You alone?
Or if you want the experience of somebody coming, if you desire to be observed in that way, then that's the level at which your consciousness is operating. So you'll have that opening always. Yeah. Because your desire opens that aspect of consciousness, so people can see it on you, like, oh, I'm going to go talk to this one.
Yeah, it's the open invitation. We just know.
No, otherwise, it's like, oh, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste my time.
Something feels like it's not a match. Like I'm not going to get far with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Right.
Where's the most dangerous place to keep your money right now? And I'll prove it in 60 seconds. Most people think banks are safe. They believe their deposits are sitting in a vault with their name on it. But here's the truth. The moment you hand money to the bank, it's no longer yours. Legally, you're a creditor. And in a crisis, creditors are paid last, if at all. Banks don't protect your money. They use it. They lend it, they leverage it, and gamble it. If their bets go bad, you carry the risk. And if inflation rises, your safe savings lose. They lose value every single year. That's why millionaires don't park cash in banks. They park cash in assets. History proves it. Cyprus 2013, deposits frozen, savers lost billions. Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey, currencies collapsed, savings evaporated. Even in the US, over 500 banks failed since 2008. And yet, central banks themselves are quietly stacking gold at record levels. Why? Because they know the real safety lies. Because they know where the real safety lies. So here's how you protect yourself. Keep only what you need for daily liquidity in the bank. Move the rest into assets that can't be frozen or printed. Things like gold, real estate, and private equity. Build a reserve outside the system so you own your money, not rent it. Start now, because the riskiest place to keep wealth is where everyone else feels safe.
So I want to pivot just a little bit. How can people raise their consciousness? You know, we see that it happens, and actually I feel like within the human, the typical soup of human experiences, it's happening based off of outside external impulses that we don't typically have control over. But I know that through spiritual cultivation we can do so, but how would you express our way of doing that?
I think there are several ways to do it, but what I think, let me speak first to what I think stops people from doing it. I think it's the lack of understanding who and what they are. Like, if you don't know that you are a multidimensional, intergalactic, biophotonic luminary destined for greatness, you might not try it.
That sounds better than I'm only human. Man, but that's what human is.
Well, you know, I wouldn't do that. I am only human.
Yeah.
Because when you put only in front of it,
It's limiting. It's just nothing
now,
else.
if I say to you, I can say it to you in a way where there's great power.
You just did. You just. Oh well. Excuse me. Please continue.
I am human. You feel that?
That come off different. I'm only human.
No, it's like I am
Human. That's
Human.
like chest out, shoulders back.
like, you one of those too? Come on. You know, it's a different.
You're like, damn, what kind of human is that? Like, I didn't know they was making those out
This
here.
is not the, I can barely, you know, brush my teeth and get my pajamas off. It's just not that. This is that I embrace the greatness within me, and I'm looking to embrace the greatness in others to move with me into my family, my tribe, my destiny, my clan. That's how you change, by knowing that you have that. So one way of knowing it is to see others who have it, to search out others at varying levels and degrees who you can admire or be impressed with, or who you feel the power from, and then in that expand yourself. If they can do it, I love this idea that, and this is how I actually operate, if one man can do it, another man can do it. If you can make your way through the forest, if you can climb the mountain, if you can build the house, another man can do it. You may not choose to, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. So there is that understanding that I can do what is needed for me to do. I am capable of what is needed. In this time that we live in the middle of the decline of an empire and the beginning of the new humanity into a new world, we need to get some of that. Like, I can do what's necessary to be a human tomorrow. Because what I'm today is something that I would like to grow beyond. So we are at the bottom of the map of consciousness in general, and we have up to 1,000 to go to be calibrated as being able to bring in the necessary light and life to be more than what we currently are. I'm not sure if I answered that.
You did. It's very deep. I'm taking it in, allowing it to marinate. Sizzle, sizzle. So, kind of go back to this idea of like, actually, you asked me to remind you of something. You had a client example that you wanted to give people, well, I feel like we kind of touched on it, but people having the capacity to move from one frequency to another.
Yes, I had a client ask me about his partner. He said, my partner is in depression and angry and blaming me. And the work I've done with you has popped me into joy and happiness. I'm running marathons, I'm feeling good, my body's great. And when I read the book, when I read the book
Power versus
versus Force, they said in the book that people rarely move from where they're born at. And I said, rarely is not never. You know, it's true. Humanity's history is that people stay lifetime after lifetime or entire lifetimes in a very similar frequency. But just because they do doesn't mean we have to. If they are inspired by your beauty and clarity and purpose, if you hold your fuse and keep reaching higher, you will influence them if they are still around. So if they hang around, they're connected to you, especially if they have genetics with you, it is likely that there will be an effect on them. The higher you go, the higher everybody goes. So always work on self. That is the solution to all things.
There's two different things in there that I'd like to address. One, how in the book it says that people rarely move, but I feel like it's not taking into account people who are actively in pursuit of growth and evolution. This is a soul who, he's already great in his own right, but he's literally doing the things that are required to expand his consciousness.
He's in practices every day. He's sacrificing to talk to me every week. All of the things that he's doing, all the things that make magic happen. Yeah. He believes, he's making the sacrifice, he's affirming.
And so he's popping himself several ruts up the ladder, so to say, in consciousness, and is reflecting. But then we can also see the remnants of consciousness that's still transitory, so to say, as he changes. So my second question to this is like, at what point do we decide to cut off? Is there an idea of cutting off? Because this is a rather sensitive situation where I think about what you said earlier. Everyone fires themselves. You know, we're not necessarily doing the firing, but are we? Or is there ever a time where it's like recognizing that there is the separation in consciousness, such as what he's identifying? It looks very stark too, and in terms of the distance that he's creating and the willingness of the person to stay the same. Should a person, or would it be best to actively say, we can't do this anymore, or just hold out until the person who's in the lower consciousness just decides to make their exit? Do you feel where I'm coming from with this?
I know exactly what you're coming from, and I have a couple of different ways to share this. So when there is this couple has been married for a long time, and so at one point they were a match. And over the last decade, the match has become less and less and less and less. And they both are committed to saying and see themselves as being in love with each other, which is a whole nother conversation, what love means. Yeah. So my advice would be for the person who is making the concerted effort to be in the higher realms. He's running marathons, he's eating right, he's doing intermittent fasting, he's paying to have the consult to talk with us, he's doing the practices we recommend religiously, and he continues to grow. And he continues to hold the thought, I love this person. And I encourage him to know, you may love the person whether you're at 700 or 1,000 or whether you're at 50 on the map of consciousness. That it is never a matter of you not loving the person. The fact that you love yourself is loving the person, because we are all one. However, you are not to stop, because not only do you raise the person who you think of as your mate's consciousness, you raise your mother's consciousness, you raise your cousin's consciousness, you raise your dead grandparents' consciousness when you grow bigger. So that's what's at stake. What's at stake is all of the souls that you affect through lineage, past life, and association, and the person who you're momentarily in this situation with. So the person then has the opportunity to ride the wave. They now have the wind under their wings. The wings. They can take the opportunity to let go of their anger, their frustration, or their blame, and move into looking to work on themselves, or they may need to have the internal lesson of a few more years in the uncomfortability of that frequency, which they're free to do in a free choice universe. And my advice to him is to continue to love them, but don't continue to let that be the atmosphere in which you go to sleep in unconsciously at night, where somebody's hating on you. Like, it is imperative that you remove your body from the place that that's happening to you. Mm-hmm. But it's still the person's choice, and they make the choice first. You just follow their choice. Like, you continue to think that way, I can't sleep here. Because I'm unconscious and you're hating on me. Like, I can't. I love myself too much to allow myself, my body, my spirit, my energy pattern. We have overlaying fields. No, that's a no.
And so I'm going to just bounce back to you what I'm gaining from this. So levels of boundaries that are being articulated and conveyed in a way that's not necessarily inflammatory, but it's again, and I know it's relative based on your level of consciousness and how you perceive it, right? But
right, because if the lower levels, it's going to be perceived as inflammatory.
Exactly. And this is what I meant earlier, where if you're below the 200 threshold, perceiving information from someone up here, it may feel like an attack even when it isn't.
For sure. Have you ever seen a child have a tantrum?
Yeah.
You don't give them what they want and they don't like it.
Raise hell.
Yeah, so my solution is spray them with cold water. But
what about this? Can you do that in this situation? Imagine you like...
How committed are you to this disposition? Right. How committed are you to this tantrum?
Hilarious enough, that would make the person, the adult, stop for a minute. Like, what did you just do that? Or she?
I'm not recommending that.
No, but it's funny. Excuse me. It's hilarious.
So when a person's in the lower frequency and you won't give them what they think you owe them, they want to hurt you. That's what happens. So they want to hurt your ears by screaming, or they want to hurt your peace by having a tantrum, or they want to hurt your feelings by making you feel bad. When you are detached and you have no response to it, then it doesn't have the desired effect. So then the tactic must change. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, so you're not going to argue with me, you're not going to be upset that I'm screaming. You walked out while I was in the middle of my tantrum.
It's like, I got nobody to tantrum with now. I'm not going to tantrum by myself. Right.
And so if you are determined to keep your frequency and to hold your space and to continue to grow, there is only benefit for everyone, even if the person chooses not to do it at the moment.
Yeah.
They have seen it.
Yeah.
They cannot unsee it.
I also see one other facet of that. It is the facet. I'm just highlighting an aspect of it where we're not enabling the behavior. So they are winning. They're gaining from being in the presence of someone who will not stoke the flame of that lower level of consciousness.
Yeah, I'm going to go in the backyard and I'm going to stand on my head and wiggle my toes and look out my tongue at you. I'm like, okay.
It's like, I'm not getting no energy. I'm not getting no charge. Why is this not working?
Yeah. Are you looking? No. Do you care? No. And and it's dirty out there.
Which is funny because I can see that may inspire something greater from the person.
Well, whatever the person's process is not for us to dictate it. It is for us to work towards being all that we can be. And then let that example fill the space. Let it fill up the space and see what they do with it. And if they make a decision that is not the one you would have made, they're free to do so.
Like, I wouldn't do it, but,
So, is that helpful?
It is. I would love to continue going at it, but we're reaching the top of our time.
I know. So today you're going to pull a card. Do you know what your
Yeah.
question is?
I'm going to ask to see what's the truth that would be best for us to understand regarding to consciousness itself,
Okay. Perfect.
or our topic concerning consciousness.
So we have knocked on the door of the Cards for Truth, the divination deck. We're on our way in, and the door is open, and a card has been pulled.
Okay. This is interesting. Protection. You protect yourself by being confident in who you are. Know who you are. I feel like this is a callback to the conversation earlier. You said one of the things that stops us from raising our consciousness is not knowing who and what we are.
Yes, it's really the essence of it all is decide who you want to be and move towards that. And allow others to move towards at their own rate and speed. Don't be mad. Be active. Love yourself. Show what that looks like so that they can love themselves. So thank you for joining us today in this conversation about consciousness. We hope you will join us again. We give you the greetings of In Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. Thank you.